You remember Nancy's thought for the day? Challenges. You learn more as you're dealing with challenges. That's at least one of the reasons why we're in Toastmasters. We're challenging ourselves to improve our communication skills, our leadership skills, our listening skills, our feedback skills. Well, for most of Toastmasters, 97 years, those of us who go back that far, not quite 97 years, all the education materials were on paper. During 2018 to 2020, we transitioned to a new program called Pathways. And now worldwide, 99 plus whatever percent do all the education materials online. So one of my recommendations is, if you're doing Pathways, if you have access to a computer, do it online. You'll see in a minute why. So I want to talk about some of the basics to help you get maybe energized or re-energized in Pathways. One of the reasons I'm giving the speech is to re-energize myself. The basic unit in the education program is called a project. It's not necessarily a speech. There's one or two projects that don't even include a speech, strangely enough. Some include several speeches, but generally one speech each. A project has the following elements. You take a quiz or survey ahead of time, and it's asking you questions to make you think about the skills involved in the project. What do you know about it? How much do you know? How confident you are about them? And there's a checklist of what has to be done. Now, with checklists, you find out what the project is really about. Sometimes the titles are misleading. I've got most, like 5/6 of all the, no, 53 of the 61 projects. I've got the checklist on my computer at home. So if you ever want a checklist, there's a good chance I've got it. There's not any database online for all the checklists for some stupid reason. And this is main education material, text, there's exercises. 2/3 of the projects that I've done have a video. Well, if you're doing Pathways online, you get all of that. If you're doing it on paper, all you get is the text. So you're not getting the full breadth of what's involved. Such as when it comes to vocal variety, how can you better understand pitch, rate, pause, and volume? By reading words, by watching someone like Brian demonstrate it. Okay, that's an example of why the videos add a lot to the educational experience. Then the rest of the project, you have generally one or two speeches, sometimes more, an evaluation of your speech, and then the same questions that you got at the beginning, they ask you again. I find that sometimes I actually rate myself lower the second time, not because the project made me forget something, but because I realized, oh, there's more to this than I realized. Yeah, I gained some, but now I realize that I was here instead of maybe there beforehand. So each project is a building block. When you finish a set of projects, you can take yourself to the next level. There's 5 levels in each path. You start with the fundamentals. The second level 2 is more focused on helping you understand your style of leadership, style of communication, whatever is appropriate for your path. The mentor program, I recommend, something we should speak about some other time. Level 3, 4, and 5 get to very specific and evolved projects. So they start simple, they get more involved. The first 3 levels are really the fundamentals and keep doing things that advance your fundamental skills. You get 4 and 5, and you're working on things at a higher, more sophisticated level, and they take more time. Sometimes you want to plan ahead. If you're going to be giving a speech at a church or organizing an activity, it can be the basis for finishing a level 4 or 5 project. So if you're getting close to 4 or 5, look ahead, see what's out there. So we got 61 projects scattered in all these levels. What do? How do you get through them? Well, there's 11 paths, and they tell you, oh, in this level, I've got to do these required projects, and I have these electives, and here I've got 1 required project and 2 electives. So there's different paths through Toastmasters education program. Unless you have a good reason otherwise, if it's your first time through any path, do presentation mastery. It's the basics. It's the fundamentals of mastering presentations. Some of the other ones that I find particularly interesting: engaging humor, which is not to be a comedian. It is not just stand-up comedy. It's using humor in the stories of your life in a humorous way, or somebody else's stories, but it's mostly focused on using humor in everyday speech and in all your different speeches in Toastmasters or elsewhere. Visionary communication I find particularly helpful as well. Persuasive influence, a little disappointing. I thought it'd help me really be more persuasive speaker. Not so much. After those 4, the other 7 get more and more into leadership. So depending on your objective, you might want to do something other than presentation mastery, but I'd sure consider presentation mastery as your first option. Another thing, as you're going through all these activities, I highly recommend that you save everything in every project. Now, to get credit in the computer program for doing a project, you got to click through every page. And if you don't, and I've done this experiment, you won't get credit for it. So you got to go through every exercise, you got to watch the video, click through everything, and then when you're done, you'll get a check mark in the computer that says, hey, you finished that project. But along the way, every time you have anything that you can download, the videos, the text, the evaluation files, the checklists, save them, organize them. That's how I've got all the checklists on my computer. Because someday you'll leave Toastmasters, you may want to go find information quickly. If you've stored it on your computer in your fashion on how you organize things, you can go find it. It's not so easy when you finish your path to go back and go find it later. So I save everything in my computer. Pathways has been a challenge to some people. I know because I've finished 4 paths, I'm on level 4 and 5 on 2 other paths. So all these fundamentals that I'd like to work on and are applicable to most speeches, such as this one, they don't fit in the level 4 and 5 projects that are ahead of me. So I'm going to have to get back to stockpiling. You can redo projects even outside of a path. Just do them, save the evaluation for them, use them in a future path. My challenge to you, Pathways is our education program. Yeah, the computer system is still clumsy. But if you want to challenge yourself and improve your skills, that's the means to do it. So if you've not done Toastmaster Pathways before, get into it. Work with your mentor, work with the club officers, get into it. If you've done it and kind of gotten out of the habit, as I have, get your new you know what in gear and get back into the game. Take those steps, do the projects, work through the levels, and improve your skills. Madam Toastmaster.